Hello, Callum Critchy here. So, last time you saw my top 12 moments that nearly made me cry. These are the top 15 moments that did make me cry. For those of you who don't know, I am not a particularly heavy crier because I think I've just gotten so used to certain cliches and story elements of certain films and books and television shows. As good as they are, not all of them made me cry in particular. But these 15 moments did, mainly because they dug in a more personal core, but we'll get to that. So without further ado, get your tissues at the ready. Now keep in mind, there are probably even more moments that made me cry, but I thought these would be worth mentioning, just from the top of my head. So number 15 is EmmyNDE Experience. This is a short animated film which visually tells a story about this young girl and her father and their involvement in some kind of car accident. Most of the film was portrayed as if it was them in a train station of some kind, and it's very symbolic. Basically, in this train station, and the girl's following this cat, and the girl's father saying, looks very concerned in case she gets lost, and so he leaves his mother behind, and very early on, you see a brief glimpse of her dad driving the car, and then they have a brief bump as if they had an accident. So the girl eventually follows the cat and gets to this ominous looking ship with a very bright glowing door, and then you hear a beep, 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 and the father comes in, not wanting the girl to go, so he keeps the girl safe on the bay, walks onto the boat with the heartbeat machine getting louder, and the doctors who are running the ship just say, right, as if it's like, alright, time to go. And then he goes through the light, you hear beep, and I knew what was going on, and thought, oh no, he sacrificed his life to save the little girl, and now he's in heaven. Oh my gosh! And then the girl wakes up, and the only thing she has in her hand from her mother is the little gift that her dad had. Oh, so heartbreaking. So brief, but so heartbreaking. Number 14, Coco. This is the scene you're thinking about because it delves deep into heartwarming themes about family, and there's so many stakes being raised, and nothing more to say. It's the ending of Coco. Of course it made people cry. Number 13, Christopher Robin, the recent film. This just struck me right in my childhood. I grew up watching Winnie the Pooh, absolutely adored Tigger, still do to this day. And to the point where when I went to the cinema, I carried a little Tigger with me to see Christopher Robin. So, for those who don't know, this is basically the story of Christopher Robin after his adventures with Winnie the Pooh. It's basically, he's grown up and he's led an adult life now, and he's more or less forgotten what he's learned at 100 Acre Wood, and through a series of events he reunites with Winnie the Pooh. They get back together in 100 Acre Woods, and they get separated, they find all his friends, and then they're looking for Pooh again, and he's just sitting there on the spot that Christopher and Winnie would usually sit on, and they have a conversation. Oh my gosh! And basically Pooh's saying, "Oh, it's so good to see you again." Oh my gosh! It made me cry so much in the cinema. It was so beautiful. Oh. Yeah, I love Winnie the Pooh, and that moment there made me cry. He's just got such a big heart, and we all need to be like him. This moment will hit you hard if you're a Winnie the Pooh fan. Number 12, Thorin's death in the Battle of the Five Armies. When I first saw this, several tears went through my eyes because this here is a character that Bilbo has been journeying with for such a long time, through thick and thin, and now he's gone. And it's quite heartbreaking, really, just to see Thorin suffer and then say he's going to his ancestors, but I think the part that really got to me really was Bilbo's reaction to the whole thing. It was really heartbreaking. Martin Freeman really sells it with his acting. He's making the crying sound. You know that crying sound you make, which sounds like a whiny dog? That sort of sound. Oh, just, it gets to me. It really got to me when I first saw it. Despite the fact that I read the book and knew it was going to happen from miles away since Bag End. And yes, Thorin, the world would be a merrier place, from your description. Number 11, the ending of Ghost and Ghost the Musical. This is quite a heart-wrenching ending as well. Keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of endings on this list. Those particular scenes really get to me, mainly because they built up characters so well. So, spoilers for Ghost. This is the scene where the main Ghost character, who was tragically murdered at the beginning of the film, was trying to save his loved one, and he succeeded, and with his mission accomplished, basically he's ready to go to heaven, and his girlfriend finally gets to hear him. They're reunited even though he's a ghost just about to go to heaven. It's so heartwarming and heart-wrenching. Oh, the light is so beautiful. And the orchestrated version of Unchained Melody really does set the mood really well. And the story ends with him departing into heaven, and there was something really special about the musical version that I saw. When he enters the heavens, he basically goes, exits stage center into the light, and then, you know those lights they often use to sparkle around, show around the theater? Well, when he goes through that door, there's these white lights that go around the theater as if he's gone into eternity, and you can really sense that. Oh, it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Oh my! Number 10, the ending of The Return of the King. This ending gets to me every time I watch it. This is my all-time favourite film trilogy, and this is a brilliant conclusion to come to. People usually complain that the ending is too long, but I think it's meant to be long, because they're recovering from so much chaos, and they need all this peace, and Frodo hasn't actually won his own personal battles. He's still battling his own inner demons. There are some wounds that just can't heal. So when old Bilbo Baggins gets the opportunity to sail to the Grey Havens with the elves and Gandalf the White, Frodo is given the invitation by Gandalf to go there. Because Frodo saved Middle-earth, but it's not saved for him personally. There's a spiritual emptiness inside of him. The scar of the ring has taken its toll on him, and the only cure is for him to go to the Grey Havens. So Frodo parts ways, says goodbye to his hobbit friend Sam, saying, You can't leave! I know, Sam, I know! And the music really does set the mood greatly, and it's such a beautiful scenery. And Frodo parts ways, and the moment Frodo steps on the ship, he smiles. He's finally have spiritual fullness. The scar of the ring is finally gone. So, as heartbreaking as this is good for him. It's so bittersweet. I just love that ending. Number 9, I Love You More, a short film by Maury Frost. This is a short film that really got to me. It's the way the whole thing is presented. It made me cry hysterically the first time I watched it, and it still makes me cry every time I watch it. Essentially, the film is a slow-moving 10-minute piece about the relationship between this daughter and his father, who's always busy at work, but when they get home, they embrace each other because they love each other so much, and it's all narrated by the two main characters themselves, with the girl basically saying, Daddy, do you love me? And the father saying, yes, dear darling, I love you so much, and they keep advancing this kind of talk. It's more or less the same, but that it generally is in that area, and it goes into areas such as, Daddy, why don't you always see me? I love you, Daddy. I know, but I need to work. I'm getting so tired. Daddy, I love you. Do you love me? Of course I do. And so on and so forth, back and forth, and I don't know if I should spoil it because that would make it less heartbreaking if I told you. Basically, the film just gets more and more severe, but still very slow moving and beautiful, and eventually the girl suffers, and she eventually finds something of her dad's, and the relationship is immediately enhanced. Just proving their love can stretch beyond the boundaries of time and death. And oh my gosh. Oh, it's so beautiful. Number 8, the endings of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and The Last Guardian. I decided to put these two in a tie because they both involve the departure of a much beloved, adorable character. Also because I failed to make up my stinking mind. Basically, these two characters, Dobby and Trico, we've gotten to know them for quite a long time. They were so adorable, so lovable, and to see them depart in the way they did was heart-wrenching. And what makes them so similar is the fact that they departed in very unjustified ways. All the hostile forces around them pretty much forced the departure between the main characters and these characters. And it's so sad to see them go because they're the cute ones! Much tears and much tissues were involved. Number 7. Practically every single ending of the Professor Layton series. Every single ending of the series is either bittersweet or heart-wrenching in one way or another. There were 3 that really got to me in particular, as well as my sister and some other friends of mine. It was the ending of Professor Layton and Pandora's Box, Professor Layton and the Lost Future, and Professor Layton and the Spectre's Call. Pandora's Box being bittersweet, Lost Future being tragic, and Spectre's Call being heart-wrenching. Again, I don't want to spoil these games because they're so special and they are some of the best games you can play on the Nintendo DS and 3DS systems. But when you do play them, just bring a tissue. But I will say this, all the endings that I've mentioned, in some way or another, revolve around themes of family and love. Reunions, departures, legacies, heaven, and an honorable mention to Lost Future for having a double heartbreaking ending. But after the one that you're all thinking of, there's another one where Layton and Luke depart ways, and Layton says, "Now, Luke, a gentleman never makes a scene in public." And then Luke, being the young boy that he is, goes, "Sorry, I'm not a gentleman yet." Hugs Layton. But you know what? Maybe there's hope that Layton and Luke might just go on another adventure yet. Oh wait, they did. Number 6. The beginning of episode 4 of season 1 of Life is Strange. It's the segment with Chloe on a wheelchair. Major spoilers, but this isn't the finale spoilers, so I guess I'm justified in explaining the events that came before this event. For those of you who love emotional storytelling within video games, I'd highly recommend Life is Strange. Essentially, this series plays out as this indie high school supernatural drama with mystery. The story centers around this teenage girl studying photography named Max Caulfield as she, for some strange unknown reason, gains the power to turn back time for several seconds. And in the series of this game, she reunites with her old friend Chloe. They get into many mishaps, solving this mystery together, delving into the dark side of Arcadia Bay. And at one point, Max is looking at an old photo of her younger self and Chloe when they were having fun as younger kids when Chloe's dad was still alive. And as she's looking at this photo, she unintentionally finds out that she has the power to travel through time to the moment the photo was taken. It's almost like she's a very visual time traveler, to the point that when looking at the photograph, she can't leave any of the areas that were outside of the photograph. So 18-year-old Chloe's now in 13-year-old Max's body. It's really weird and surreal, but Max is looking around and she sees this as an opportunity to save Chloe's dad from this car crash that he was in. Max manages to save Chloe's dad, but whilst doing so creates an alternative timeline, and then she goes poof and she's in an alternative timeline. In this timeline, Chloe's dad is indeed alive and well, but it came at a price. Now Chloe is on a wheelchair due to her being in a serious car accident. It was heart-wrenching enough to find this out at the end of episode 3 of Life is Strange, but the beginning of Life is Strange episode 4, this is what really got to me. That beginning just broke me. It's all very slow, with Max getting to know Chloe thinking that they've only just reunited, but for Max, she knows Chloe very well. They're talking about all the strange things that have been happening, and just life, and talking about what friends talk about. We go to their house and see Chloe's parents, and we see how difficult it is to raise their fragile daughter due to this car accident. And as much as they want Chloe to be alive and to enjoy as much life as possible, they're having financial struggles. And then that night, Max and Chloe watch Blade Runner! Yes! And the next morning, oh no! Chloe mentions the struggles of the situation and then offers Max an offer to end the suffering of everybody. That Max would shut down the systems that's keeping Chloe alive. And as I was playing, I thought, I can't do that! And so the game gives you the option to either kill Chloe to spare her, or just say, I can't do that. To which Chloe would respond, you must. Then the game gives you no choice but to choose one or the other. And I just couldn't do it for the life of me. And true, Max does eventually fix everything by reversing the effects of the time travel. But my gosh, that was so heart-wrenching! And it goes to show how good this game is at making you care for their friendship. Number 5, The Snap from Avengers Infinity War. I mentioned last week that Avengers Endgame didn't quite make me cry, but I was very close to crying in Endgame. The film that came before, Infinity War, that made me cry like a baby for half an hour. So, major spoilers for the Marvel Cinematic Universe if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, but come on, most of you have already seen it already. You've probably seen this moment coming. But just as a reminder, in Avengers Infinity War, this big purple titan named Thanos is attempting to collect all 6 powerful items, the most powerful things in the universe, known as Infinity Stones, and put them in his gauntlet. And when he gathers all 6 of them, he can have the power to just snap his fingers and make any wish he demands come true. And his desire is to eliminate half of all existing life in the universe. And so all the heroes and Avengers and all these characters that we've come to know and love from near and far, from planet Earth and the universe, all come together in various ways to stop Thanos from trying to get all 6 Infinity Stones. And if you're a fan of the Avengers, you know how these films usually go. They're usually upbeat, they're usually epic, usually have some humor to it, there's usually some emotional drama moments. This one ups the emotional drama moments. The sense of hope keeps escalating, especially when Thor gets his new Stormbreaker axe. And the stakes are raised extremely high. If they don't do something, then they're going to lose. All the heroes fight so valiantly, but Thanos is ultimately too powerful and smart for all of them. You know the stakes are raised high when it immediately starts with Loki being choked to death. The stakes are raised even higher with Scarlet Witch trying to protect her boyfriend Vision, who literally has an Infinity Stone basically giving him life. And Thanos turns out to be more sympathetic than he first appears with his relationship with Gamora. And much to Thanos' dismay, he has to sacrifice Gamora in order to get a Soul Stone. And then over time, Thanos acquires the Time Stone from Doctor Strange, who saved Tony's life in this deal exchange. And then Thanos warps away with the Space Stone. And everything escalates when Thanos arrives in Wakanda, just when Vision and Scarlet Witch are fending off some of Thanos' minions. Thanos comes in, and then all the Avengers are trying to stop him. Slow motion, Captain America, War Machine, Falcon, Bruce Banner in the Hulkbuster suit, Rocket, Bucky. All these people are trying to do their best to get them out of the way. Groot is trying to stop him, and leaving Scarlet Witch no choice but to destroy the Mind Stone and in turn kill Vision. And it's so heartbreaking, but she has to do it, and Vision says, "It'll be alright. It's okay, Scarlet Witch. I'm part God." And Thanos is getting closer and closer, and Scarlet Witch has to destroy Vision Stone, and I'm going, "Come on! Come on!" And that's when tears started going down my eyes to say, "Come on! You have to do it! You have to do it!" It was so intense, and my tears were pouring out my eyes, but then Scarlet Witch destroys the stone. Vision is dead. And then Thanos says, "Oh my, what a shame. It really is heartbreaking." And it was that point I thought, no, don't do it, don't do it. I know you have the particular power to do it, but don't do it, don't do it, don't do it! Thanos says, "There's no time anymore." But no! Now there's no time at all, and he uses the Time Stone to reverse time to basically resurrect Vision so that he can pull the stone out of his head. What a way to go! Thanos gets the last stone onto his gauntlet. He has the power of the universe in his hand. And all that's left to do now is to snap his fingers, but he's stopped right where he is by Thor, who throws his huge axe right through Thanos. Victory seems assured, and the nearly dying Thanos leans on Thor and says, You should have gone for the head." No! Everything flashes white, and all of a sudden, for a moment, Thanos is seemingly in the afterlife, or in the realm of the Soul Stone. But it's definitely linked with the Soul Stone, as Thanos is briefly in this beautiful dimension, and I'm just left going, what's going on? What's going on? He sees the soul of Gamora, basically asking Thanos, "Did you do it?" Thanos goes, "Yes." Gamora asks, "What did it cost?" Thanos replies with a sad face, "Everything." Then warp back to Wakanda. The gauntlet is destroyed. Thor's asking, "What did you do?" Thanos warps away. And then... And there is no music for this whole segment. It's just dead silence. All the characters are wondering what's happening. Then Bucky goes, "Steve?" He collapses and poof, turns to dust. One by one, half of the Avengers all fade away in truly tragic, unjustified ways. Black Panther coming up to his second in command saying, "This is no place to die," picking her up, only for him to turn to dust, and the second in command just left shocked. Scarlet Witch reuniting with his lover. But this is the worst part! Here comes the worst part! Groot, face the dust, basically saying, "I am Groot." Roke is going, "No," and had himself to injury. Apparently people say that he was crying out, "Daddy!" Ah! And then Peter Parker, poor Peter Parker! Tom Holland, you broke my heart! With some acting advice from Robert Downey Jr. apparently. He says, "I don't feel so good," and he's hugging his father figure, Tony Stark. You can see the fear in his young eyes. "I don't feel so good." And then he looks peaceful and face the dust, much to Tony's shock, and Doctor Strange adds salt into the wound by saying, "There was no other way," before he himself fades to dust. And the film ends with Thanos sitting on his porch in his farm, looking onwards out to the universe, presumably pondering if he did the right thing, and then giving a faint smile, knowing that he thinks he saved the day. By the time I finished watching the film, I had such an empty feeling when I left the cinema. Went back to my hotel, cried like a baby for half an hour listening to Ed Sheeran's Supermarket Flower. I am never going to forget that experience of watching Infinity War for the first time. Number 4, Undertale. Just Undertale. Major spoiler alert, just like Life is Strange, I'd highly, highly recommend playing this game if you're into emotional storytelling within video games. I know people keep overhyping it, but the hype has died down now, but that's just a sign of how much of an impact it's had. There's a reason why it was such a big phenomenon when this game first came out. It made me question the very design of video games and even my own morality in such a unique and sort of subtle way. It's an emotional experience unlike anything else I've ever played, and the true pacifist ending is pretty much a culmination of it all. Again, major spoilers. I'd highly recommend playing the game before having me spoil it for you. You can skip this part to get to the next part of the video. So in the true pacifist ending, you essentially don't kill anyone and you spare, show mercy, and befriend all the monsters in spite of their flaws. And during your adventures, you keep hearing rumours of this young prince named Azrael Dreamer and this tragic story that they had. See, the monsters are trapped underground in this magical barrier, and the only way out is to collect 7 human souls to break through the barrier. One time, a human fell down and the prince befriended this human. They got along very well, but eventually the human and Azrael had a drastic idea of having the human commit suicide so that Azrael could absorb the human soul so that he could walk right through the barrier with the human's body. They successfully do it, but as he puts the body back, some nearby humans get the wrong idea and they attack Azrael, but he doesn't attack back. Azrael makes it through the barrier. He dies of his wounds. And then, due to some horrific experimentation with determination, he is reincarnated as the psychotic flower. And he essentially gains the power to save the game within Undertale. And he gets to experiment around, spare everybody, kill everybody, befriend all the ghosts and skeletons, and destroy their lives, that sort of thing. And he's been having this power right until the player, us, comes along. So in the true pacifist ending, we get everyone together for a happy ending, but then Flowey comes in, takes everybody, but everyone's determined that we can beat Flowey, but then Flowey absorbs the 6 human souls combined with all the souls of the monsters in the ground to transform back into Azrael. We have an epic fight with Azrael as he transforms into this angel of death, and there's some really catchy music, but we cannot actually harm him because this is the true pacifist ending. Instead, what we can do is save all the souls that he's absorbed, like Sans Papyrus, Toriel, Asgore, Undying, and Alphys. And then there's one more to save. You call out to Azrael himself, and Azrael starts bursting into tears from the loss of his human friend, all the tragedy that's been happening around him, and he just wants to win for once. And then he turns back into his child form, and he deeply apologizes for all the wrongs that he's done whilst he was a flower. And so he makes up for it by using the power of the souls to finally break through the barrier. But unfortunately, when the souls depart from him, he's going to transform back to a flower, and it's so heartbreaking. Everything that Azrael says during this segment is just so beautifully written. It makes me tear up every time I read it. And ultimately he sacrifices himself for the greater good of all monster kind, as they finally get to leave the underground and live the happily ever after, but at the expense of Azrael. And what makes this scenario even more tragic is that no matter which ending you playthrough in Undertale, Azrael is always the victim, and it's so unfair, and that's why I feel even more sympathy for him. But the true pacifist ending is the best one, and the one that made me cry, because this is the one that gives Azrael the most dignity. So yeah, it makes me cry every time, and don't kill and don't be killed. Stay determined. Number 3, the finale of Les Miserables. Seeing this ending gets to me every single time I watch it. This is an epic musical set in the French Revolution about this paroled thief named Jean Valjean on the run from a police inspector named Javert, and he encounters a church where the bishop there shows immense kindness towards him, and since then he's motivated to live a life of redemption. During this new lifestyle, he encounters a desperate woman named Fantine who's doing anything to protect her daughter, Cosette. Jean Valjean promises to take care of Cosette before Fantine dies, so Jean Valjean finds Cosette and raises her up. Years later, Cosette sees a handsome young man named Marius. They fall in love with each other, but they get separated as Jean Valjean is once again on the run, and Marius heads off to the French Revolution fighting. Jean Valjean finds out about this and goes straight to the barricades to find him, rescue him. He only just escapes by dragging himself and Marius through the sewers, gets Marius back home and cleaned up to marry Cosette, but at the expense of his own life, presumably from disease from the sewers. And the last scene with him just sitting on that chair at the church, oh, it gets me every single time I watch it. He's just sitting on the chair, just anticipating dying, whilst he's being accompanied by the ghost of Fantine, who thanks him for taking care of Cosette. And then Cosette and Marius enter. Cosette doesn't want him to die, and there's such beautiful singing. Jean Valjean passes on the letter of his last confession. And oh my gosh! And then he dies, then he goes to heaven, and then he and Fantine and everyone else who died in the French Revolution saying, "Do you hear the people singing?" What a finale! Just all the themes of redemption coming full circle, that scene just makes me cry every single time. So, it's bound to have done something right. Number 1, Grave of the Fireflies. Just Grave of the Fireflies. Need I say more? This is not an easy movie to get through, even for someone like me. So this film is set in Japan during World War II, and the film focuses on Seita and his little sister Setsuko. Basically, their village gets bombed, and their mother dies, and Seita is determined to make up for certain things. They have other relatives who they are being taken care of, but they seem a bit pushy for them, so Seita is determined to live out on his own with his little sister. But their lifestyle just goes spiraling downhill, slowly getting worse and worse, trying to make the best of what they've got, with Seita being too prideful to admit that he was wrong, and poor Setsuko being dragged into this whole mess. This film somehow made me cry like a baby, despite the fact that it clearly tells you at the beginning of the movie that our two main characters die. That's not a spoiler, that's literally what happens in the first 2 or so minutes in the movie. Seita dies and reunites with his little sister in the afterlife. Yeah, it can only go uphill from here. Yet in spite of this, you feel so much sympathy for them. When they lose something, you feel that loss. When they feel pain, you feel the pain. I asked my friend this one time how they managed to make you cry despite knowing that they're going to die anyway. To which my friend Sam, who you saw in the Endgame video, responded, build up. Yeah, it was build up, just to the worst of it, and that's just the power of effective storytelling. To make things even more tragic, this is apparently based on a true story, and the author wrote it out of guilt for their loss. And that, my friends, were the top 15 moments that made me cry like a little baby. What moments made you cry? Feel free to comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want more content like this. So, don't be afraid to be sad, I suppose. Don't be afraid, just let it out. ScotsThinker-Top signing out.